I am disappointed, honestly, in a lot of things about the organization.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get right
more
into it.
More so than I am about Tkachuk and Gaudreau making the decisions that they made. There's not very many people out there that are as hockey smart and can think the game as thorough as Daryl Sutter. There's, the guy had a NHL career. And then he went on to be a successful coach. He won 2 Stanley Cups. He went to the finals with Calgary in 2004. Decorated veteran coach. Unfortunately, I think that as everybody, I've heard it all summer long, but yes, there is a shelf life in a room on a coach like that. And Daryl was an old school, old tactic coach, and he was, I think, just honestly, he was really hard on the players there. And I think that everybody right away felt a whole lot of pressure. And unfortunately, Daryl Sutter, was not as nurturing as they wanted. Now, I will say this is the pros. This is the big leagues. And when you're getting paid millions of dollars, you need to put in the effort. And as much as I would say that, yes, I believe that Sutter might have pushed all the wrong buttons, there were a lot of players that also equally underachieved. At times, they worked really hard and played hard and showed glimpses. But overall, I spent the majority of the season being disappointed watching the games. And the more time went on, the more evident it was that they weren't going to make it into the end.
Was Markstrom an issue this year?
Well, I would say that, yeah, he was. And I don't want to pick on Markstrom.
No, because he's good, and he's proven to the Flames he's been good.
The amount of games that I can recall where Calgary would go out and start the game with like 3 or 4 good opportunities to score, and then a half-hearted play would come back the other way, and it would be a shot from like up close around the blue line, no screen, no traffic, and it would beat him. Like he would seem to let in the first shot very often. And I mean, I got to be honest, like I've never had to walk a mile in his shoes, and anybody in the NHL, that's why Wayne Gretzky always said, you got to shoot the puck, right? You'll miss 100% of the time that you don't. So
I think Michael Scott actually said that.
Okay, well, I saw a meme, okay, and it had Gretzky, and then it said that. But anyways, it seemed like he was easy to score on early in games, and the Flames just, were unable. They didn't look like they had a lot of confidence at times when they would get. A team would come out and score a couple goals on them, and they seldomly ever were able to mount any comebacks when they'd had, once they were trailing by the third period, by the start of the third. I think that they only came back a couple times, if I recall, the whole season, and they made it to overtime, I think, 20 times, and they ended up losing 16, I think it was. So, they didn't have enough finish, and a lot of the guys that were there just were unable to perform for whatever reason. And I don't see the guys having a good enough bounce back next season to be able to compete with how the Oilers are going to be, how the Canucks are going to be. Right. Like, I think that Calgary has a lot of work that they have to do here.
Do you think rebuild is a potential, or do you think it's more of we're a few tweaks and pieces away from getting back on track? Because I mean, and the whole general management and coaching, like everything was gutted. And I just want to say personally, I think Brad Treliving is an unbelievable general manager. He took that Flames team from the dark days of when Bouwmeester, Iggy, when they all left. And I was living in Calgary when that entire team was dismantled in 2011. And he took that team, which there was, it was some dark times. I got Flames tickets for like $12, man, on Craigslist. Like, it was some dark times. They were losing every single game, but he took that team and was able to rebuild not once but twice with a similar core. So he rebuilt it on the fly, and and he had to face issues where his top center in Monahan, his career pretty much has ended early. Now I know he's in Montreal and he actually had a little bit of a bounce back, but you know what I mean? Like, the guy was supposed to still be a star for the Flames right now. Like, Tkachuk was never supposed to be gone. I do think that while he was with the Flames, he did a tremendous job. Obviously, it's just time to move on, and I get why.
Did he do a good job though? Because I've kind of got a take on it here, and I would say this. I can agree with what you said there. And yes, Treliving made some awesome moves. He was very, very good at
drafted well.
He drafted very well. He was able to get people to sign very palliative deals that were good for the team, right?
Yep.
But this is what I have to say as well is when you look back at how many of our actual core players we literally lost for nothing. I believe TJ Brody, he walked away to free agency. Giordano, we lost to expansion. Derek England, he was, a lot of people didn't consider him a super core guy. I kind of did. We lost him for nothing in a draft, right? Goudreau left for nothing. Tkachuk, yeah, we were handcuffed. We made a trade. But you look at how many of our actual real players that just ended up jumping ship that we never got anything for. We weren't able to sign them, that's quite disappointing. And Goudreau and Tkachuk, even if you go back just about a year ago, 2 years ago, those guys both wanted to sign long-term in Calgary, and Treliving wasn't willing to pay. And he wanted to do smaller bridge deals and kind of keep the team, the way it was. And unfortunately, when you get guys like that, you got to sign these. You got to give them what they want. You got to make sure that these guys are paid like stars and that they're treated like stars, right? And unfortunately, we just saw what happens when they don't. They will just leave and go somewhere else where they can. It's really unfortunate, but I think that the Calgary Flames had a cancer that ran right through the organization, right through the locker room, through the players, the coaches, right up into management. It's really unfortunate. And I would say that if I was in charge, if I was the general manager, I think I would try to actually do a full-on rebuild right now. I would probably trade away anybody that I could for as high a picks and prospects as I could. They've tentatively got a new arena deal in Calgary.
Maybe exciting stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe in 5 years here, there'll be a nice, exciting place for a team to play. So let's start rebuilding it now. Let's tank out. Ask the Penguins, ask the Blackhawks, ask the Oilers right now, even though they haven't won a cup. But Tim, look at what they got right now.
Shit, man. And I know the Rangers weren't built off their prospects, but shit, the Rangers rebuilt like 3 years ago too.
I mean, look at what's going on here. And honestly,
New Jersey,
you can't stay in win now mode and ever actually have a decent shot. I say this for the Canucks too. They've been having a lot of issues, right? And it's like, I would say if I was in charge of Calgary, yeah, I would blow it right up. Right now is the time, right? And get as many big first round picks as I can and start to build a team from scratch. And hopefully by the time there is a new building in Calgary and the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's are getting a little old or they're going somewhere else or whatever, then it'll be the Flames' time to shine. But right now, I think it's just too battered and too broken. I want to be optimistic. I want to say that this year with a new coach, next season coming up, we're going to see Dewar and Peltier and all these, I want to see a lot of young
Phillips,
players.
let's go. Matthew Phillips,
Right?
former
Yeah,
Victoria Royal. Let's go, baby.
Absolutely, right? Coronado in there and Phillips. Hopefully these guys can come in and actually start legitimately as fourth liners and work their way up. But it's time to, I would say it's time to rebuild that franchise and start from the top down and go young. That's just what you have to do right now to be
Tim,
relevant.
I like how you're blunt with that, because I don't think a lot of Flames fans would have the balls to admit that that's what needs to be done. And again, I'm more in the camp personally of, and I'm outside the bubble, right? You're in it. You're watching every game. I want to see what happens next year. Yeah, with some infusion of youth. And then if it's still not working, then like you might as well, because they have assets. They have the Huberdeaus. They have the Kadris. They have players that they can move out there. And in conjunction with the 5-year plan of the, knock on wood, new arena, it could all work out there.